Welcome to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. If you're looking to manifest a life you don't need a vacation from, then you came to the right place. I quit my 9-to-5 job to stay home with my kids while building a thriving business. Now, as a best-selling author, app creator, and 3-times podcaster, I am here to teach you how to do the same. If you want to join my inner tribe, head over to the Manifest It Now app. And now let's dive in to the podcast where I'm going to give you my best manifestation hacks and tips so that you can manifest a life full of abundance, freedom, and fulfillment. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. So it's 7:30 in the morning. I don't know if you could tell from my voice. You'll probably be able to tell throughout the podcast, but I am sick. I'm congested, which is, it's the worst. I feel like these little head colds are just awful because they leave you kind of groggy and just feeling like gross. But anyhow, my kids are right outside my door. It's like, typical hectic morning, but I was doing my little morning yoga sequence stretching that I do. And all this stuff just kind of shot through me. And I'm like, you know what? I need to record because you know how I do it. Like, I don't really plan these episodes. I just record as things come through. So what I was thinking about was just this whole dynamic that our society is in that we've just accepted as normal. And that is that we leave and we go to work Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, plus, commute time and anything else extra that you have to do for work. And by the time we get home, we have like very little time other than making dinner, taking a shower, and, getting our kids off to bed. And then we're so wiped out that we go to sleep, we watch mindless TV till we pass out, and then we wake up and do it all over again. And how we've totally just accepted this as normal. But what's crazy is the other day I was listening to a podcast and they were like, when you think about it, this has only been the normal for 40 years. And before that, in every generation prior to that, that was not the normal. The normal was that you had a 2-parent household and the husband worked and the wife stayed home and raised the kids and cooked quality meals and took care of the home and actually had time to take care of herself. And, I know that nowadays that's kind of like this controversial thing to say. And believe me, especially when I was younger, in college and stuff, I was very super, feminist and we could do everything. But as you know, if you've listened to this podcast, the moment I had my daughter 14 years ago, that all changed. And that was the only thing I wanted to do. And it was all of my priorities of climbing the corporate ladder went out the window. I didn't care about that anymore because I just naturally stepped into this role of wanting nothing more than to just be with my daughter and to raise her and to do as much as I can with her, because those moments in childhood they go by so fast. And I know that because now my daughter's in high school and it went by in the blink of an eye. I tell her every day, I feel like it was literally last week that I was taking you to your first day of school and now you're in high school and we're talking about college and, it goes by so fast. And it is true that has not been the norm for most of history. And, we have, I think it's because we have different needs and different approaches, so women are more structured to be in that feminine energy. And of course, everyone, men and women, have masculine and feminine energy. And you've heard me talk about this a few times now, but I'm going to keep talking about it because it's such a big realization that I've had that's completely changed my life and 100% ties into manifestation, but also to happiness, to fulfillment, and to just leading a really purposeful life. And that is how we all have this masculine and feminine energy. And men tend to, get into that masculine energy a little more naturally. And women, just in general, tend to get into that like feminine energy more. But the way that our society is set up is, we go from school to college to work where we're so conditioned to turn off that feminine part of us. And I'm not talking feminine like pink colors and girly. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the energy of nurturing, of being creative, of intuition, of imagination. And this is something that lives in everyone, whether you're man or woman, doesn't matter. We're really conditioned to turn that part off and to focus on the masculine side of our brain, the left side of our brain, which is analytical, strategic, the language center of the brain, practical, reasonable, all of that. And the manifestation comes from the feminine. It comes from the right side of the brain. And when you think about it, manifesting is creating. It is part of the feminine. You are birthing a new creation. It is feminine. It is using your imagination. It is using visualization, creativity. And we're really, really conditioned to ignore that, to think of that as not important, that it doesn't pay the bills. Yet it's the very thing that does pay the bills, because when you tune into that and you have the space and the time to tune into that, that's when you birth creations that oftentimes abundance will follow. And I really do feel that. I feel like when you follow your passion and follow your purpose, abundance follows. So there was that whole concept. And the second thing, like there's all these like little nudges that I got throughout the week that makes me feel like I need to talk about this with you guys, because there's someone out there struggling with this. I struggled with it for 12 years, well, longer. I struggled from the time I was a kid, like second grade in school, all the way through high school, college, and my corporate career. And now I see a lot of young women getting out of college, getting their first job, struggling, deeply depressed, deeply anxious, just like I was. And what happens is you have like people like me, like the millennials, kind of laughing at them and being like, yeah, like welcome to the real world. But is it really the real world? That's only been the real world for about 40 years. Prior to that, this wasn't normal. It was normal for women to have kids, to take care of the home, which means taking care of like everything, doctor's appointments, the food, the cooking, cleaning the home, like knowing what's going on in your community, contributing to your community. You know that saying, it takes a village to raise a kid? That's true. That's been true throughout all of history, except now that village is empty during the day. Have you ever gone through your neighborhood during a weekday? It's empty. There's no one there. So we send our kids to daycare hoping and praying that they're in good hands and that these daycare workers aren't so busy that they can actually give our child some love and nurturing that they so desperately need. And trust me, like I've been in that situation. So I'm not like trying to shame anyone for putting their kids in daycare. I was in that situation. It's just the reality that we're in now. Most people have to do that because there's no other option. And there might be people listening that are like me that don't have kids and they're all about like climbing up the career ladder. That's fine too. That was my goal. I wanted to work my way up the career ladder and become CEO of the company. But like I said, that all changed when I had my daughter. It was like my motherly instinct just kicked in and I would like move mountains to be there for my kid. And had I not had kids, I probably would still be in that corporate job, and that's totally fine, right? But I think for women that are kind of in this phase of life, and I know because I hear from you guys every single day, and you're like, I'm in my day job and I have kids. And by the time I get home from work, I barely get to see them. We have dinner sometimes, like, which is going through a drive-through because there's sports and all kinds of other things you've got to cart them off to. Then it's bath time, and then it's bedtime. And then you're so exhausted that you just want to drink a glass of wine, have a shower, and go to bed and wake up and do it all over again. So anyhow, getting a little sidetracked, back to the viral TikTok that's going around, and it's this girl, and she looks like she's fresh out of college. She got her very first job, and she's like, I know it's going to sound like I'm just whining and complaining, but like, is this normal? Like, I'm having a really hard time adjusting to this new reality where she can't afford to live in the city. Obviously, like, inflation's crazy, prices are insane. So she's living at home with her parents in the suburbs, and she's taking a train into the city to go to work. So she has to leave at like 6:30 in the morning to get on the train, and then she doesn't like get home until 6:30 at the earliest in the evening. So it's like she probably works an 8-hour work day, but with all the commute time, we're talking a 12-hour day. And then she's like, I get home, I eat, which I don't cook. Like, she heats something up in the microwave or gets fast food because you're so wiped out. You're completely depleted of any motivation or decision making capabilities. So you just grab whatever's easiest. And then she's like, I take a shower, and then I'm so exhausted, I go to bed, and then I wake up and I do it all over again 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, you're just dreading going back to work on Monday. And so she got a lot of flack for that. Like, a lot of people were like, suck it up. But why? Like, why are we just sitting around and saying, yeah, this is just life? It's because we've been conditioned to believe that. And I think that things are really changing, especially with this, younger generation, and thanks to technology. But that's where I come in. And I feel like there's so many women right now that need to hear this, because I was in that same situation, and it felt hopeless at the time. And it kind of was hopeless at the time, because when I was fresh out of college, you guys, like, this was when like Wi-Fi was like a new thing. Okay. Like, we didn't even have social media at that time. I think Facebook was like around, but it was just for college students, and then maybe YouTube. But there wasn't like any of this AI stuff. There wasn't any of this plug and play platforms. It wasn't easy for people to start a business. Like, this was still where you had to get like a business loan and like put all this money into it. This was back when you had to like hire someone to make your website and spend thousands of dollars instead of just these like plug and play templates. So things have changed a lot. And now that we have this technology, and let me tell you something, it is going to grow so exponentially fast and make things so much easier. So they're already really easy that anyone can do it, whether you're a techie or not. It's going to keep getting easier, especially with AI. And so this is where you have an opportunity. But it all starts with your mindset, okay? Because you're going to have people that are like, it's not possible. They're going to resign to the fact that this is my life. I have to go away, 5 days a week. I have to put my kids in daycare. I can't work and raise my kids. I can't make enough money from home. And they're just going to resign to that. They're going to just decide that that's their reality. And if someone decides that, there's nothing that I can do to help them, right? But you're going to have other people that are going to look at people like me who used to think that, but then did create this reality and are working from home while raising their kids. And I mean, like, literally, like, hands-on mom. My kids are right outside my door. I'm probably going to pause the podcast a couple of times, as I get interrupted. But like, that's my reality. I work alongside my kids. And if I have to record a podcast or video for a quick 20 minutes, they're right there. And I can pause it and check on them. Like, this is all possible now. We can be home with our kids. We can get back into that feminine, nurturing side of us, and also be the breadwinners and make enough money to pay the mortgage and the bills and everything else. And we have the technology now to make that a possibility. But again, it starts with your mindset. And you have to open yourself up to that possibility and to know that it is possible for you. And you don't have to know everything or feel super confident. You just have to know that you're willing to do whatever it takes to be home. And that was the decision that I made. It was like, I am not going back to the corporate world. I'm going to be home with my kids. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care if I have to sit on my computer day in and day out. Like, I will figure out a way where I could be home with my kids. That's the sort of mentality that you have to have. You have to have this unwavering, like, I don't care. I am going to do this no matter what. Like, it might be hard. I might fail. People might judge me. I don't care, because not doing it is more painful than doing it and failing, or doing it and having some bumps in the road. Because at least if you do it, you know you tried, right? So I say all this to say that there are solutions to this problem. And you have to look to people who have already been there and have already like done it, basically. Or at least that's my recommendation, because this isn't rocket science. There's actually real strategies and like proven things that work and that don't work. Learn from someone who's went through that and can just hand it over to you. They're going to hand you the template. They're going to hand you the formula, and you just plug it in. And if you can have the mindset that I'm going to go all in on this, because if I don't, I'm going to be like that girl where I spend 12 hours a day away from my home, away from my family, away from my spouse, whatever. And that is more painful than just sitting down and getting this done. And so I'm going to be opening up Digital CEO again. This is my 6-week program where I teach you how to create your own app. And it may sound intimidating. I know it sounded intimidating when I first heard about it, but it's literally like plug and play. It is not hard because of the technology available. And so the cool thing with this program is when you're going through it, you're going to have access to the digital CEO community and to me through our private groups. You can ask questions, you can get feedback, you can partner up with other people in the group. I didn't have that when I started my app. Like, I just kind of had to figure it out on my own. But this way you have like a community of people that are all on the same boat. They all want to quit their day jobs. They all want to take their business to the next level. And there's no one that's like a coder or super techie. They're just figuring it out as they go with my guidance, and then asking questions along the way and motivating one another. So it's a great opportunity to do this without having to hire a team, but still not being alone and having that community. So I actually, today, I'm going to send out an email. If you're on my email list, then you'll get that. If not, I'll put a link in the show notes to get on the list. But we're going to have a free training on November 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is going to be with Dan, who is the head of the platform that I use. He's the one that like created it, that makes making an app so easy. And so he's the guy that really came into my world, and it changed everything because it made it so easy and so doable. And my app is the thing that gives me that security, that stability, with monthly recurring income that's easy, and it's passive income. So I'm not working 40 hours a week, right? Like, I did put a lot of work in to get it set up, but once it's set up, it's like on autopilot, and I can be with my kids. And yeah, I get some emails or questions about the app here and there, but it's nothing I can't do right alongside my kids. And so it's like the answer. And I wish I could just reach out to that girl on TikTok. I didn't find her original video. It was like reposted. But I wish I could reach out to these people and just say, like, you don't have to do that. Like, don't fall for this idea of like, this is just the way it is, and resign to the fact that you're going to be working in a cubicle 40 hours a week for the rest of your life. Like, there are other options that literally anyone can do, but you have to have that mindset. You have to decide that you're going to do it. You have to have a really strong why. And sometimes the best why is negative. Like, sometimes the best why is like, I don't want to have to take an hour train ride every single day, Monday through Friday. I don't want to be stuck in this cubicle. Sometimes that is the best motivating factor. So you have to have that aspect of it. And I think that this training will help with that as well. And so does Digital CEO. We work on the mindset. I give you mindset tools, and you have that community to help with the mindset piece of it. But then it's also very hands-on. And like we show you step by step, this is how you make your own app. And like, again, I am not tech savvy. I don't know how to code. I made myself figure it out because I just had this like deep knowing in my intuition that this was the answer to the question that I had, which was like, how can I make enough money where I never have to go back to the corporate world? And that is when literally like a friend sent me the ad from Dan that she got on her computer. And I totally believe it was divine intervention. And I signed up, and in one weekend, I put it together. Like I was that motivated that I got this thing together in one weekend. So the course is 6 weeks. You don't have to get it done in 6 weeks. Some people take a lot longer. And then there's other people that are like, oh my gosh, like send me module 2 already. Like I'm ready to knock this thing out. So it's like self-paced. You are going to do these on your own time. You don't have to show up to any live calls because I know like if you're doing this, your schedule's probably crazy. So this is something you could do completely on your own time. But if you've been asking that question of like, how can I make this happen? How can I work from home? How can I be home with my kids instead of spending, half my income on daycare? This is how I did it. And that's why I want to share it with you guys, because I see so many people struggling, and there is another way. And so I will link the registration for this free training. You have to sign up for it. I'll link it in the show notes. I'm going to put it on my Instagram, on my TikTok, like all the places. And I hope to see you there. Like if anything, you get a free training, but just keep an open mind that if you've been asking the universe for an answer, maybe this is a sign, and maybe you're listening to this for a reason. So check out the show notes for the details. Reach out at Law of Attraction Tribe on Instagram if you have any questions, and I'll see you back here next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want more in between these podcast episodes, you can subscribe to my Apple podcast, Manifested It. You can find that in Apple Podcasts, and it has all of my bonus interviews, guided visualizations, subliminals, meditations, all that good stuff. Or you can download the Manifest It Now app, where I put everything, all of my interviews, tools, everything I've used to manifest a life I don't need a vacation from. You can find that wherever you get your apps, in Google Play or the Apple App Store. And you can join the Inner Tribe Manifesting community, which is inside the app as well, if you want to up level with a group of women who are there to support you, cheer you on, give you guidance, and up level your vibe. And if you love this episode, the best thing you can do to support the podcast is share it. Share it with a friend, share it on your Instagram. Make sure to tag me at Law of Attraction Tribe so I can share it back on my story as well. I love connecting with you guys and putting a face to all the listeners out there. So come connect with me over on Instagram and let's start a conversation. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.